A mochi moment from Mark, who writes, I just want to thank you for making GLP-1s affordable. What would have been over $1,000 a month is just $99 a month with Mochi. Money shouldn't be a barrier to healthy weight. 3 months in, and I have smaller jeans and a bigger wallet. You're the best. Thanks, Mark. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Mark is a Mochi member compensated for his story.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic!
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
You have big dreams of losing weight and creating a healthy, joyful life. But you find yourself craving sugar, caught up in what the scale says, and diet hopping. Dieting is the old way of losing weight. And the good news is I'm going to give you a new way of eating so you can ditch diets for good and build a healthy relationship with real food. My name is Megan Olson, certified nutrition practitioner, creator of Skinny Fitalicious, and your host of the Dish on Diets show.
Hello friends, today I want to talk to you about extreme deprivation when dieting and why it never works for keeping weight off long term. Extreme deprivation is what people always try to do when they try to lose weight, whether or not they realize it. And deprivation always results in overeating at some point. Most people don't realize it. They don't make this connection. And even though extreme deprivation or just depriving yourself of anything you like, anything that satisfies you, even though it does result in weight loss, it never results in permanent weight loss. 95% of people who lose weight keep it off for less than 5 years. That is a real statistic. And I talk about that in my free weight loss class. If you've not taken my free weight loss class, I highly recommend you go through that class. There's a ton of information. The link is for you in the show notes. Now, I am one of the 5% of people in that statistic who have lost weight. I've lost 80 pounds, and I've kept it off for 16 years now. I am one of the 5%. I know those of you listening are eager to lose weight and have the body of your dreams, but my question for you is this. Is your goal to lose weight and regain weight in less than 5 years? Or is your goal to lose weight and keep it off forever? If you want to lose weight and keep it off forever, then your approach to dieting and doing calorie deficit must change. Your mindset about how you diet must change, and your mindset around results being slower must change. What I always did prior to losing 80 pounds to try to lose weight was deprive myself. Eat meals that are not satisfying, not things that I really wanted. It always felt like I was trying to starve myself, even though back then I never really thought of it that way. I never really dawned on me that that was what I was doing. I just thought that was normal. That was what you were supposed to do to lose weight. But it's not normal. It's actually very disordered. And when I look back to the things that I did before losing 80 pounds, I think, oh my gosh, that was so unhealthy. It was so disordered for me to do all those things. Once when I was a teenager, this is an example of something I did that was very disordered to lose weight. Once when I was a teenager, I tried only eating carrots and cantaloupe. I was nannying for a family one summer, and the mom was doing Jenny Craig. And the mom, she only ate cantaloupe for breakfast and cantaloupe for lunch, and then she'd eat one of those Jenny Craig meals for dinner. So in my mind, I thought, if I could just have enough willpower to only eat carrots and cantaloupe like her, I could lose weight and go back to eating like normal. But I only would last like a week on that before giving up and feeling like a failure. And around that same time, my mom was doing this carrot diet thing where she only ate carrots for months. That's all she ate. Carrots, carrots, carrots. And her skin turned orange from all the beta carotene. And yes, she lost weight, but after she stopped the diet, she gained all her weight back. What's wrong with this? It's all disordered eating. It's not healthy to diet this way. It's not healthy to get into a calorie deficit this way. But these are the type of things diet culture have normalized for us women in society. We do not blink an eye if somebody tells us they're only eating carrots and cantaloupe to lose weight. We think that's normal. It is not normal. It is highly disordered. And the scary part is, us women, we don't realize how crazy and disordered it is. And oftentimes we praise our friends. Oh, you look great, even though they did some weird disordered thing to lose weight. We're praising them for starving themselves. That is weird. This past week, a woman on my TikTok account commented that she was eating chia seeds for breakfast, carrots for lunch, and a balanced meal for dinner. And it was working great for her to lose weight. And I responded to her and told her that's not normal. And you're very likely that you're going to regain the weight after you stop doing this. And she went on to explain her gynecologist told her to do this diet. And I said to her that her gynecologist is completely outside her scope of practice and should not be giving her nutrition guidance. She should be referring her out to a nutrition expert, and that her gynecologist is actually setting her up to regain weight and binge later on in the future. And this woman kept doubling down. No, it's working. You don't understand. I'm losing weight. What's the problem? My gynecologist told me to do this. I think we often forget that sometimes gynecologists and other doctors are not immune to diet culture. They've all been exposed to the same stuff that we've all been exposed to, and many of them have disordered eating themselves. The issue is no one can sustain until they're 85 plus years old only eating chia seeds for breakfast and carrots for lunch. This woman, unfortunately, is a high risk for nutrient deficiencies, osteoporosis, muscle loss, anemia, B12 deficiency, as well as overeating and disordered eating patterns. Eating carrots for lunch is not a healthy way to lose weight as a grown adult. No one should be trying to lose weight only eating carrots. What unfortunately will happen later on for this individual, and it's not going to happen right away, but later on in the future, she is going to become very hungry. And the food noise is going to get so loud that she will begin periodically overeating. And then she will feel guilty for overeating. And then she will restrict more in response to the overeating. Eventually, she will gain the weight back, but it won't be overnight. Gradually, within that 5-year time frame, she will regain all her weight back. And it makes me so sad that women think this is what they have to do to lose weight, and they think it's normal. It is not normal. It is highly, highly disordered. Just this week, I was coaching one of my lovely, lovely clients, and she asked me a really good question. Can I do a 3-day fast along with my calorie deficit? Now, before this client started working with me, she had been doing 3-day fast, and she really liked doing them because the scale would go down quickly and her clothes would feel looser. She would essentially get a dopamine hit from seeing the scale go down and her clothes feeling looser. But once the 3-day fast ended and she ate like normal, the scale would go back up and her clothes would feel tight again. Crazy thing is, her body composition never ever changed from doing this. She never lost weight for good. Her pant size never went down, which ultimately led her to working with me because she was frustrated. She's like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this not working? So when she asked me the other day if she could do a 3-day fast along with her calorie deficit to make her weight loss go faster, I said, so what you're really asking me is if you can starve yourself for 3 days to lose weight so you can lose weight faster. I asked her, do you think starving yourself for 3 days sounds like a healthy way to lose weight? Do you think starving yourself for 3 days sounds like a good way to get fitter and stronger and keep weight off for good? And she was like, well, no, not when you say it like that. Exactly. Well, we have all been conditioned to think this is normal. This is not normal, guys. Starving yourself for 3 days is not normal. It is extreme deprivation. Like, think about it this way. If your vet told you that your dog or your cat needed to lose weight, would you put your dog or cat on a 3-day fast? No, that sounds ridiculous. So why would you think as a grown adult that makes any sense for you? It doesn't. When you do a 3-day fast like that, your calories, whether or not you realize it, the week after, your calories will be higher. You will eat more, and it'll usually be pretty subtle. So you will just end up staying at maintenance, kind of like my client. You end up eating those calories that you didn't eat for those 3 days back, slowly over, a couple weeks. So nothing really changes with your body because you just are kind of at maintenance. And most people, like I said, don't really realize this, but you're eating a little bit extra, an extra 200, 300, 500 calories here and there every day in response to the 3-day fast. So it doesn't seem like you're eating that much more, but you are eating more on average. And it's usually not like this all out binge. So you don't even consciously realize it, but you're staying stuck at maintenance and you're confused. You're like, why am I not losing weight? I'm doing this 3-day fast. I'm so good. The scale's going down. Why does it go back up? I don't get it. It's all water weight. You're losing all water weight. That's all you're doing when you do these, monkey tricks with your diet where you're starving yourself for 3 days. You're not actually losing body fat, which is the whole goal of weight loss. If you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, my friend Jessie, who is a registered dietitian, she was on this podcast actually a few episodes back. We were talking about disordered eating patterns that people get into when dieting. Jessie, the other day, she did a video on her Instagram of a woman who was packing her lunch, which was only a rice cake. And the woman couldn't understand why so many people in her comments were telling her how disordered this was. And Jessie did some commentary on the rice cake video saying this is a common pattern that people fall into when they're trying to lose weight. They restrict way too much. Eating very little at breakfast, eating very little at lunch to save up calories for later in the day. They're scared of eating more and not having enough food for later in the day. They fear getting hungrier later in the day, running out of calories, going over the calories to satisfy their hunger. That is all disordered. But this is what a lot of people do when they try to lose weight. And the worst part is that the woman who did this video with her rice cake for lunch, she's very likely to develop what we call a food aversion to eating rice cakes. So at some point in the future, the thought of eating rice cakes is literally going to make her want to vomit because she has put herself in this position of only eating rice cakes for lunch. And food aversions are a real thing that people end up with as a result of too much dieting. So at some point, you won't be able to eat the foods that you were eating in such a restrictive and depriving way because you were dieting in such an unhealthy and disordered way. But because of diet culture and all of the crappy diets we have all been exposed to, including what we have seen our mothers doing, we all, in our minds, think that this stuff is normal. No one ever questions these insane things we are doing to lose weight. When I was in my 20s, I did this exact same thing. Breakfast was usually coffee. And then I'd have an 80-calorie yogurt for breakfast. And lunch was romaine lettuce with an apple, a few walnuts, balsamic dressing, because I was trying to be good. I thought that was healthy. Those are all healthy foods, right? I'm being healthy. Hardly any calories. Lots of healthy foods. But then after work, guess what happened? I would come home and raid the pantry, eat a bag of chips, order a pizza, and eat the entire pizza and the entire bag of chips. Because I was starving my body by eating so little earlier in the day, and then at night it was just an all-out eating fest. When I work with clients, this is a pattern I consistently see. Not usually to the extreme of what I was doing in my 20s, but it's the same pattern, eating very little or eating nothing at breakfast, a tiny, tiny lunch, and then a ton of calories later in the day. And the common complaint that many of these clients, say when they come to me is that they have all these carb and sugar cravings. I'm so out of control, Megan. I don't know what's wrong with me. Why am I so snacky? I have an intolerance to carb and sugar. My body just doesn't tolerate carbs and sugar. I hear that so often. I get home from work and I can't stop eating carbs and sugar. There must be something wrong with me. My body just can't handle those things. I have no control around carbs and sugar. No, honey. The problem isn't the carb and sugar cravings. The problem is you're starving your body earlier in the day because you're not eating properly, which is leading to increased hunger later in the day. You are directly causing your body to crave carbs and sugar, which are quick energy foods, because you're not eating appropriately earlier in the day. It's as simple as that. It's not an intolerance. It's not that your body can't handle it or process it. It's none of those things. And it's also because you're always thinking about dieting, always thinking about making your body smaller, always thinking about depriving yourself, always thinking you need to eat as little as possible. All that thinking is the problem because you're still thinking like a dieter. You still think in extremes. You're either extremely restricting foods that you eat or you're extremely off the wagon eating like a jerk. You don't get long-term weight loss by doing that. You don't. A lot of women also complain about food noise, feeling snacky. The food noise has become sort of the latest buzz term. And my question always is, do you really have food noise, or do you have food noise because you're always trying to diet? You're always trying to make your body smaller, and you're always thinking about dieting and making your body smaller and how you're getting fatter. Do you have food noise because you're not maybe feeding your body properly? Do you have food noise because you're restricting too much and you're always in this extreme deprivation and restriction mindset? Most individuals do not understand how to properly feed their body. It's not their fault. We've not been taught that in school, but most people just don't know what proper nutrition looks like. They think proper nutrition is eating clean. That's not proper nutrition. But they kind of have like this extreme deprivation mindset, and they're trying to lose weight with all that crap, which sets them up to be unsuccessful long-term, create an even worse relationship with food, and have a poor self-image psychologically because they feel like a failure for having no willpower to starve themselves. Makes no sense at all. None. Food noise is a symptom, not a cause. I did an episode on food noise a couple episodes back, and I talked about this in detail. I do believe some people have real food noise, and my definition of food noise is someone who would not be able to get through work without thinking about food, would leave their small children at home to go get food and overeat. Like you would be willing to put your kids at risk so you could overeat. You would be willing to put your job at risk to go eat. There's a big difference in food noise having a real impact on you living your day-to-day life, taking care of those you love, getting to your job and doing your job versus just always thinking about food and feeling snacky. Because you're an extreme dieter and you're always in these disordered patterns of starving your body because you don't know how to eat properly because you've only ever been dieting and you're always trying to lose weight, trying to make your body as small as possible, and you're scared that you're getting fat and you have no idea you're creating your own food noise and chaos with food because you're always doing these weird things to starve yourself, which our society has normalized because the only thing that matters is losing weight and being super small, which doesn't even equate to being healthy. Remember I did that podcast a while back, Health is Not a Scale Weight? Remember I talked about my dad? He was skinny his whole life, totally unhealthy, had a heart attack at 36, died of Alzheimer's, early onset. He retired basically like the day after he retired, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and he went downhill pretty quickly after that. So you can be skinny, but you can be totally unhealthy. So there's that. But the thing is when you are an extreme dieter, you don't think that any of this stuff I'm talking about is disordered. If somebody had told me eating carrots and cantaloupe was really strange and that's not a healthy way to lose weight or be in a calorie deficit in a healthy way, I would have just thought they were bonkers. I would have been like, no, of course you have to do this to lose weight. I mean, like the woman that I was talking to on TikTok who was eating carrots for lunch. She was like, what do you mean this is disordered? I'm losing weight. It's working. We're so blinded by it working we're losing weight. So what's the problem? We're so obsessively focused on weight loss that we don't even recognize when we're doing something dangerous to our health and to those around us just to look skinny. It's really scary. And what is even scarier to me is social media. The videos of women showing off their disordered eating on social media every single day, and they don't even realize that what they're doing is disordered and weird. That woman that I mentioned, my friend Jessie shared with the rice cake video, the woman shared that video on Instagram and had no clue that the way she was dieting is very unhealthy. In her mind, she thinks it's acceptable because she's losing weight. The crazy thing was she bragged in the comments how great her metabolism is because she's losing weight so fast. But her metabolism isn't fast at all. She's starving herself. Eating a rice cake for lunch is starving yourself. Eating a rice cake is not a meal for a grown adult. I mean, I'm totally baffled why somebody would say, my metabolism is great, it's responding great. Well, sure, you're going to respond great when you're starving yourself. You know? Like, what? It's crazy that we are so blinded by weight loss that we don't realize what we're doing is totally unhealthy. There's another woman I see regularly, all the time, pop up on my Instagram feed. She has 2 million followers. Just the other day, she was on a video that I happened to see where she was saying how she fell off the wagon of her carnivore diet and gained 20 pounds. If you don't know, carnivore is where you just eat meat. And this lady literally has videos of herself eating butter, sticks of cold butter. I'm like, I don't know who on the planet can just eat a stick of butter and call it a day for food, but that's very weird. But that's what this woman does. She sticks of butter and lots of meat. And, she even lost all this weight, but then she fell off the wagon, started eating carbs again, gained 20 pounds. And so I see this video of her talking about this, and she's like, I'm going to do a sardine fast for 3 days to get myself back on track. Okay. She literally had thousands of her followers, mostly women, commenting saying they were going to do the sardine fast with her. What? This is truly disordered eating on full display, and other women are joining along. Like, this is normal. It's just a reset. I mean, what? It is truly scary seeing these videos everywhere on social media and women thinking that this is totally normal and what they should do to lose weight. And not to mention that small children, like young women and young men, are watching these videos at young, impressionable ages because anybody can watch anything on social media practically. So they're watching these videos and now they're thinking that's normal? What? I mean, any woman who wants to lose weight and keep it off forever, beyond the 5 years, you must stop doing this. You must really wake up and recognize that what you're doing is not healthy. I guarantee you can eat like a normal person and lose weight. Your food has to be satisfying and enjoyable, as well as making sure you're hitting important nutrients like protein and fiber. The goal is always eating as much as possible while making progress, not eating as little as possible. And the problem is too many women try to eat as little as possible and swing wildly between rebounds. So they have no idea how much they can really eat while losing body fat. They're like eating, 2,600 calories probably at maintenance, and then they're trying to take their calories down to 1,200, thinking that's an appropriate deficit for them. No, that would be starving yourself. Most people don't realize that their calorie deficit can be at a much higher number, but they don't want to do that. So for instance, like when I work with my nutrition clients, I have most of my clients do what I call a nutrition audit. Occasionally, a client will do this really strange thing where they binge before doing their audit. It's like they have that Last Supper mentality still. So they're like, I'm going on a diet, got to eat everything in sight because tomorrow going into restriction. So they eat like a jerk and then they try to eat perfectly for their nutrition audit, which totally defeats the whole entire point of an audit. And it's because they're still thinking that they have to extremely deprive and restrict themselves to lose weight. I've had a few clients, not many, but a few who have refused to listen to my advice and did this Last Supper kind of thing. And I told them they're not ready to be in a deficit because they're still acting like a dieter. And they insisted into going into a calorie deficit despite me highly advising against it. They typically say things like, I know you have your process, but I know what works for me. So it takes a lot of coaching with some of these clients. And sometimes I have to let the clients kind of fail and until they realize what they're doing. But my point here is that these individuals will come into a weight loss coaching program and try to do the same exact extreme stuff they've always done because they're obsessed with losing weight. They're obsessed with making their body smaller, but they will never keep it off if they keep doing that. They will come out of the calorie deficit and gradually over time, they will regain the weight. One, because they don't have a real understanding of what their true maintenance is. And two, they still think in terms of extreme deprivation. So they will come out of a calorie deficit, rebounding into overeating, followed by periods of undereating, and slowly, gradually, over time, all the weight starts to come back because they never fixed their diet mentality. They never fixed how they went about doing the calorie deficit in a healthy way. All because they're impatient with getting weight loss results. The point of coaching somebody on weight loss is not, let's see how good you can be with me breathing down your back only for you to regain weight at some point in the future. That's not the point. I know that there are some coaches out there that do that kind of thing, but that is absolutely not what I do. This is why I do not have a sign up on my website for anybody to work with me. I vet women to ensure that they really are ready to change and be open to no longer approaching weight loss with this type of diet mentality. If somebody tells me that they're in a rush and they got to see weight loss in 3 months and they don't have any of their habits in place, they're not walking every day, they don't hardly get any protein, we got to work on that stuff first. And if somebody's like, no, I really want to just jump to weight loss, I don't want to work on any of that stuff, I'm not going to work with them. I'm not, because they're not ready. And I know that they're just going to do the same things that they've always done, unfortunately. So you kind of have to be mentally like realizing that these tricks that you've done in the past, they just lead you back to starting over always. You can't do that anymore. And that's what I eventually realized in my 80-pound weight loss journey. I couldn't go about that anymore. I had to continue eating the things that I wanted and figure out, how do I reduce the calories? But occasionally, when I do consultations, someone will slip through who won't listen. They still want to kind of do it their way. And what they don't realize is they are still doing the same old diet tricks that they've always done. And weight regain is in their future within that 5 years. And it really pains me to say that because, that used to be me before I lost 80 pounds. I never ever thought that how I was trying to lose weight was the issue. I just thought this is what you were supposed to do to lose weight. Deprive, starve yourself, see how good you could be. And I honestly think that is what a lot of women think they have to do as well. And I have a lot of empathy for that because you don't have to do that. You don't have to be in extreme deprivation mode to get the results that you want. You do have to be patient though, because I'll talk about that in a second. But the other issue I wanted to bring up is that we now have this issue of many people on GLP-1s, weight loss medications. And the issue is that a lot of them are losing weight quickly because they're not eating. And I'm not against people being on GLP-1s. I've got many clients who are on them. They can be helpful for the right individuals. But I am seeing this daily now in my nutrition practice. Women are confused why they need to eat. I'm not hungry. Why should I eat? Okay, well, because you might get nutrient deficiencies. That's a real thing. I mean, we are in the next few years, mark my words, we're going to have a lot of women in the next few years who are going to be frail, break a lot of bones, and have nutrient deficiencies because they're taking weight loss medications and they're not eating. Many women are starving themselves on weight loss medications. Whether or not they realize it, they're starving themselves. And that is not normal. That is also very disordered. And why you should be working with somebody if you're on a GLP-1 or a weight loss medication. If your doctor is, giving you a script for a weight loss medication and you're not somebody who already has really good nutritional and fitness foundationals down, you need to be working with a nutrition expert. Because even though you're losing weight, you still need to be eating properly to be healthy. Kind of like my dad. He was skinny, but he wasn't eating healthy. He wasn't eating properly, right? And you still need to be hitting nutrients to stay healthy and have a healthy weight loss. You're at a high risk for osteoporosis and muscle loss and, B12 deficiency and anemia. There's a lot of different things that potentially you could have issues with if you're not eating properly when you're on a GLP-1. And I'm seeing this more and more. People are just not eating because they're like, I'm not hungry. Why should I eat? Because you still need nutrients. That's why. Recently, I did have a woman reach out to me. She's not on a GLP-1, but she did a program where she ate no carbs and no fruit. She lost 20 pounds, but doesn't know how to bring carbs back into her diet without gaining the 20 pounds back. This is a perfect example of extreme restriction and then fearing keeping the weight off. This woman, after I spoke with her briefly, has all kinds of disordered thinking around food and fear of weight gain. Her fear is very true and very real. And it's very unhealthy. And it's all caused by the extreme way that she lost weight. She lost 20 pounds, but now she has all these problems. She lost weight in an unhealthy way, in a very disordered way. Like I said, you can eat like a normal person and lose weight. If your dog had to lose weight, you would feed them a little less and walk them a little more. So for you, I know that sounds overly simplistic and, we're still humans, but for you, that means you do need to walk more than you normally walk or move more, and you eat a little less of the food you normally eat. I guarantee you can, eat the same things you're eating now and still lose weight. You probably make the same meals all the time. You don't need to go out and look for a million different recipes. Look at the things you eat now. How can you make them slightly healthier? How can you make them less calorically dense and eat a little less than normal? I mean, one of the simplest things I tell my clients is instead of using full fat beef, use lean beef. Use the 90% beef. I mean, that's one simple way of just making your meals that you already probably make them a little less calorically dense. That's one simple way. When I first started, that's exactly what I started doing. And for me, I wasn't actually eating at home either. I was just eating out every night because I was a consultant. I traveled every week. So I just took literally the same meals that I always ate and cut them in half. And it worked. And then eventually I moved on to calorie tracking, but I never gave up anything. And I've kept 80 pounds off for 16 years because I never deprived myself. And to this day, I will say that's why I have been successful. Lost 80 pounds, kept it off for 16 years because I never deprived myself. And, if you are not satisfied with a meal and you're just eating things because you think they're the right things to eat, even though they don't really satisfy you, like you're eating a salad because you think it's the right thing to eat because it's healthy, it's got nutrients, I guarantee if it's not something that you actually want, it doesn't actually satisfy you, I guarantee you will overeat even if you're full. Guaranteed. One of the worst things you can do, like if you go out to a restaurant, one of the worst things you can do is choose something at a restaurant that you think you should eat, even though you really want something else. I just coached a client on this recently. She went out to eat and she really wanted pasta, but she told herself pasta was too many calories. So instead, she ordered a salad. Later, she binged on chocolate, even though she was full. And the reason she binged on chocolate was because she didn't eat what she really wanted at the restaurant. I told her, you can have pasta and still lose weight. How can you reduce the calories? She didn't know. So I said, why not tell the waiter to box up half the meal before bringing you the plate? And she was like, oh, I never thought of doing that. Exactly. You see, we've all been programmed to not think like normal people around food. So we do these really stupid diet tricks around food and tell ourselves we can't possibly eat pasta. We can't possibly eat what we want and lose weight. That is not normal. It's all very disordered to think that way, and it just leads to overeating because you feel deprived. If you keep trying to lose weight that way, you're going to keep regaining it. And if you want to keep weight off forever, you can't think this way anymore. You have to think in a different way, just like I coach my client. If you want pasta, you can have pasta. How can you reduce the calories? What can you do? You can't think in that extreme way anymore. You can't try to be in a calorie deficit and drag all your extreme food deprivation and diet tricks into it. You're eating in a calorie deficit, but you got all these diet tricks up your sleeve and you're eating in a very disordered and unhealthy way. You're not doing the calorie deficit in a healthy way. You're not losing weight in a healthy way. And you're setting yourself up to binge in the future, have a worse relationship with food, fear the scale, fear weight gain, hate your body, and be on this yo-yo diet cycle for the rest of your life while you're beating yourself up and wondering what's wrong with yourself. Many people understand they need to be in a calorie deficit, but it's all of this crap that makes a calorie deficit very, very difficult. And this is why weight loss coaching is very helpful, because coaching helps you get out of this extreme deprivation mentality. I've never had a client come to me who's never heard of calorie deficits. Most women are experts in calorie counting and nutrition by the time they come to me. What they're not an expert in is spotting their deprivation, their diet mentality, their restrictive patterns, the extreme deprivation that some of them are in. They're not an expert in knowing how to be in a calorie deficit in a healthy way. They keep trying to do it in a disordered way, and they're banging their head against the wall and wondering why they're not getting results. The biggest thing you must realize is you can no longer expect fast and instantaneous results when you let go of extreme deprivation. And when you lose weight in a healthy way and like a normal person, fast results are not going to be part of this. It's going to be slower. And this is the biggest mental hurdle I see for my clients that I have to coach them on. And I always reinforce to them that, well, you got two choices, right? The extreme deprivation is the way you get fast results, but there are so many negative consequences to being extreme. Primarily, you're going to regain weight in 5 years. You're going to overeat. You're going to beat yourself. You're going to shame yourself, and you're going to be starting all over. Nothing will change if you keep trying to lose weight this way. You're just going to be on this diet roller coaster the rest of your life. So you either accept that you're going to lose weight and slow progress is progress, or you keep doing the extreme thing and lose weight, regain, and wondering what's wrong with you. You can't Amazon Prime real results that last forever. So put your patience pants on. Enjoy eating normal food. Enjoy getting stronger, feeling better, feeling fitter, while eating in a slight, modest calorie deficit. And if you don't know how to do this in a practical, doable, and sustainable way for you, then get a coach to guide you one-on-one. The link to set up a consultation with me is always in the show notes. So you're always welcome to set up a consultation with me. It's never a waste of my time to talk to somebody. It's one of my favorite things to do. But the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is you can no longer go about this by depriving yourself and starving yourself and doing these weird things with food and thinking it's normal. You can't drag all of that into a calorie deficit. It's not normal. It's very disordered, and it sets you up to regain weight within 5 years. If you want to be one of the 5% like me who's lost weight and kept it off more than 5 years, this is the major thing, the one thing you really need to work on. Okay, ladies, I hope that this episode was helpful for you. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, you have to come check out my free weight loss class. It's the 5 steps to lasting weight loss, how hormones impact weight loss, and the truth about lasting weight loss without relying on willpower, workouts, or deprivation. Click the link in the show notes to watch that free class today. And if you are a woman over 35 with 20 to 50 or more pounds to lose, schedule a free weight loss breakthrough session with me after you watch that class. And let's talk about your 20 to 50 or more pound weight loss plan.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with AutoQuote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hey, this is Dan Harris, host of the 10% Happier podcast. I'm here to tell you about a new series we're running this September on 10% Happier. The goal is to help you do your life better. The series is called Reset. It's all about hitting the reset button in many of the most crucial areas of your life. Each week, we'll tackle a topic like how to reset your nervous system, how to reset your relationships, how to reset your career. We're going to bring on top-notch scientists and world-class meditation teachers to give you deep insights and actionable advice. It's all delivered with our trademark blend of skepticism, humor, credibility, and practicality. 10% Happier is self-help for smart people. Come join the party.